There's really no reason to think that one championship would lead to another. They're all individual, even team to team, year to year. Teams are different. It's not just the next year's team is going to be exactly the same. People come, people go. So I can't say that Tennessee's definitely going to win a national championship next year because they have the same team. But I can tell you that I don't think Tony Vitello is going anywhere. And we reported that Texas might have some interest, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'll also take away something that may be a little bit too emotional, Caleb, and correct me if I'm wrong. But the fact that you had Josh Heupel there, the fact that you had Rick Barnes there supporting Tennessee's baseball team tells me they're in it for the long haul too. Obviously, Rick Barnes is 69. I'm not sure how long the haul is. But anyway, he's not looking for another job like UCLA like he once was. Same thing for Josh Heupel, who one day might have an opportunity if Brent Venables runs afoul of their administration and then the administration is replaced. That's a big if. But I think Tennessee wins another championship because it raises the bar on the entire athletic department, shows it can be done, but Tennessee's unity and consistency is what will win them another national title or two. I wonder why Kim Caldwell wasn't there, Caleb. But your thoughts on my contention that was a showing of unity that will result in more championships?
I think it absolutely was, and I think this is something we have been talking about for a while, and which is that Tennessee has been considered, particularly since Danny White took over, one of the premier athletic programs, everything programs in the country. But it was always with a caveat because they didn't have any hardware that they had brought home yet. They needed to bring home a championship of some sort. So it was a huge deal for them to bring home a championship in baseball because weirdly, Tennessee, for instance, I'll just give you guys an example. LSU, Tennessee has a much better overall well-rounded athletic program than LSU. But LSU is generating all the coverage for winning it with Angel Reese and women's basketball and winning it in baseball, right? And
Agreed.
Yeah. And then who's the gymnastics athlete? I forget her name, who had the NIL deals too, made it big. Tennessee kept knocking on the door everywhere, but wasn't bringing home any hardware. And it was crucial that they brought home some hardware to legitimize them as an everything sport and brag about their Director's Cup standing that they do every year. I think Heupel and Rick Barnes knew that. And I do think that they're all in this together to help recruit. By the way, Kim Caldwell is not there yet because Kim Caldwell is literally building a program from the ground up. She doesn't have time to go out to Omaha.
I'm not hating on her. I wasn't hating on her.
Yeah,
still, you could have a private plane and get out there. I would have gotten out there.
That is the one program that has to actually be rebuilt. Every other program is rolling at the top of its game right now. Is that fair to say?
Okay, I'm telling you, I would have gone out there.
She didn't need to go out there.
I'm just telling you, I would have gone out there. When they have a get together, I mean, you've been in the corporate world more than me, so maybe you know. But when they say you got this get together and it's a celebratory, fun get together, I would go out of my way to get there. But I don't know. She may have been recruited. She may have been recruiting the next Candace Parker. I don't know. So don't let
that's what I'm pointing out. Yes, she could have been recruiting the next Candace Parker.
Okay, so I don't want it to sound like an insult. Fair. But anyway, let's get back to the men's side of it. You had Barnes, you had Heupel there. I thought that was significant. I thought that was very significant. And let's face it, football is going to be a lot harder to win a championship in than the other two sports. I believe, because of what Tennessee has to face year in and year out in football, and then basketball, the postseason's a crapshoot. So it's nice to have a little support from either the baseball team or the Lady Vols at some point, as Tennessee has had historically, right? I mean, when your football team can't bring them the hardware, somebody needs to.
Yes, you're right. And I think many thought basketball had a chance to do it this year, but they didn't. So, yeah, baseball bringing it home. And baseball was the biggest one because baseball was the biggest lifter of all the sports. If you look at the production the last 4 years with Tony Vitello, and it was the one that kept knocking on the door and was unable to bring home a national title. So I think baseball was the one that you felt you were going to get a championship in baseball first if you were a Tennessee fan.
Okay, I want to go ahead.
Yeah, the other sports are good, but basketball has been close to baseball's level the last couple of years, but baseball's been low-key dominant in the SEC the last few years. So it looks weird for Tony Vitello to not have a national championship on his resume yet. I mean, it was like Bo Schembechler not having a national title in football, which he never won at Michigan.
No, that's Bo Schembechler. That's actually a great point. Except I think most of the ladies would agree that Tony Vitello is much better looking than Bo Schembechler. Let me give you a specific reason how Tennessee has already benefited from a championship via college football recruiting. So tell everybody about David Sanders. Who's David Sanders for those that don't know, Caleb?
David Sanders is a 5-star offensive lineman who has reportedly been favoring Tennessee or Clemson as the number 3 rated player nationally in the 2025 recruiting class. Tennessee is targeting him heavily.
The number 1 offensive tackle in the nation out of Charlotte, where Tennessee needs to be. Here is what he posted. If you're on our video profile, David Sanders posts a congratulatory message to Tennessee for being national champions. Let me tell you a story, guys. And I've told this before, so Caleb's heard it. So I'm going to tell it really quick. Terry Fair was an all-pro and never would have played for Tennessee had it not been for coincidentally seeing the Lady Vols in the Final Four. This will lead to football, basketball, and baseball commitments. That David Sanders type of guy may be that type of guy. I love his tape. I love everything about him. But if you're asking me what a national title says about the Vols' overall athletic program, it's that it just continues to feed itself. And Caleb, it is a program. If you can pull yourself in trouble, there we go. No, now I've just got you. But it is a program, Caleb, that now can benefit from more exposure. So when Josh Heupel hosts some official visitors, he can say, this is the type of thing that they're doing at Tennessee. It's a complete program that it's a complete athletic department now with a national championship trophy. I think you could finish second 100 times. And if you don't finish first once, you're not a complete athletic department. Is that too harsh?
No, I mean, I agree. That was the whole key point of this. Tennessee was actually getting lit up and laughed at by other programs because they would brag about their Directors Cup standings, and everybody would say, hey, you guys haven't won a national title yet, and you're bragging about second place everywhere. So, again, as the great Nelly once said, 2 is not a winner and 3 nobody remembers.
There you go. For just $9.98, you can follow football recruiting on Hooker's Corner, where we have that David Sanders breakdown. Also, more recruiting coverage coming up, including player evals, just $9.98. And we have weekly prizes and a monthly grand prize for those that are members of that. So the QR code is on your page. If you're on our video platform, please join. We greatly appreciate that. And hit the like and subscribe button. Again, greater interaction between me and Caleb. You can just bug Caleb more than his newborn Quincy. You can just call him at like 2 a.m. We'll give you his private bat line number. A national title, the other thing that it says about Tennessee's athletic department is that they want to be well-rounded. And Lady Vol fans, you need to listen to this because a lot of you have a chip on your shoulder. Correct, Caleb?
Not younger ones. This is from the older
a lot
fans,
of Lady Vol fans have a chip on their shoulder, correct?
Older ones. Yes, I'm only going older ones. I don't think that applies to the younger fan base.
Okay. Nevertheless, a lot of Lady Vol fans have a chip on their shoulder because football treated them like a second-class citizen in the 90s and the 80s. And I get that, despite having a legendary coach in Pat Summitt. But it is time for the Lady Vols to say to themselves, this Danny White guy wants everybody to win. He wants us to win. May not be a revenue sport, but wants to at least minimize losses. Wants championships. Caleb, a women's basketball championship is comparable in publicity to a baseball championship. So if I'm a Lady Vol fan and I see all that Danny White has poured into baseball, I'm really excited about the future. And I don't want to hear any Lady Vol fans upset about the fact that they didn't hire a Pat Summitt disciple, that they hired somebody with a different style. I'm done with that. You need to be excited, Lady Vol fans, because Danny White obviously wants to win you a championship as well.
Yes. Yes. And by the way, this is what's so crucial with it. This is what, if you're a Lady Vols fan, this is what you wanted. You wanted to be treated with the same respect of every other program. You know how you treat the Lady Vols with the same respect as every other program? You hire for the women's basketball program as if you would hire for any other sport. And you don't sit there and say we're somehow unique because of the Pat Summitt thing, so we got to do the Pat Summitt tie. No, you go for the best coach, the one who will institute the best splash, which he did in Kim Caldwell. I think they are. I think many Lady Vol fans are excited. I do. I think there's a lot of excitement. There was a lot of, and you saw this towards the end of last year, Dave, because I've seen this with Kelly Harper now, and I saw it with Holly Warlick. There was a groundswell of Tennessee fans in general who wanted both of them gone. There was a groundswell of Tennessee fans that weren't even part of the Lady Vol contingency that said, hey, this is not the standard for women's basketball. And it was honestly sometimes Lady Vol contingency that would say, no, you don't understand. Holly Warlick or Kelly Harper represent the Pat Summitt era of women's basketball. And in my thought, I'm like, who's really holding the Lady Vols to the standard that they should be held at right now? Because it seems like the football, men's basketball, other sports fans that the Lady Vol fan base felt like didn't care enough about the Lady Vols, they're the only group of people that is trying to hold the Lady Vols to the standard that Pat Summitt set for them. And
I agree. I think Tip Jackson, that's the first time I've seen you post, said Danny wants to win at Spelling Bees. I think that's true. I think Danny White does win at Spelling Bees.